with Dope on the Day. I have a great guest today. Her name is Alicia Duro Campos. Or what's your new last name?
It's Dura Campiglia. It's definitely a mouthful.
Campiglia. Okay.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I've known Alicia for many years, and she's got a great story to tell of redemption and how to talk to children about disabilities. We'll go into her story later on. But first, I would like to thank all our sponsors, Friendly Shoes, Filled Them Backpacks, and you will find more information about them on our websites. Alicia, could you tell us more about yourself?
Sure. So I am 37 years old. I was born and raised here in Georgia. And like you said, AJ, we've known each other for many years. We went to school together all throughout at least middle school and high school, if I'm not mistaken, the end of elementary as well.
Did you go to Pearl Stevens?
No, I went to Bonaire and then Fagan Mill, so maybe not elementary.
Yeah, Fagan Mill definitely. But
yep. So middle school is when we met. So I was really involved with the Parapro program and Special Olympics and anything like that I could be involved with. But when I was involved with all of those things, I was there as a chaperone. I was there as a helper. I was not there as someone who is disabled. And now that's a little bit different due to losing both of my legs. My husband and I were in a motorcycle accident in April of 2001 last year. Unfortunately, when the motorcycle accident occurred, I was pinned onto the motorcycle with my legs still wrapped around the bike, and the bike slid underneath the pickup truck that hit us. Unfortunately, the gentleman who hit us was not legally supposed to be here, and possibly because of fear for what would happen or whatever the reason may have been, he did not stick around and try to help at all. He fled the scene and made a phone call and left the country. So he just left and walked right past me in order to do that, because I was underneath the driver's side of his truck. The gas tank to the motorcycle ended up exploding and caught fire. The fire spread to the truck, and obviously, since I was under the truck and on the motorcycle, also to me, my amputation is due to both legs being burnt off. Unfortunately, the way the scene was laid out, you couldn't see me very well.
No.
So I wasn't automatically identified in the wreckage. So I sat there for quite a few minutes, burning until someone heard me.
Well, I'm honestly thankful they did.
I'm very, very thankful that I was still conscious. So that I was yelling, because if I had not been yelling, I probably wouldn't have been found until they were extinguishing everything. So, and that someone heard me yelling, and a very brave young lady by the name of Jessica, who is definitely was an angel for me that day,
Yes.
ran into the scene and pulled me by my arms off of the bike and out from under the truck.
Yep.
And she stayed with me until the paramedics arrived.
How long were you in the, I guess for
How long was I in the wreckage, or how long was I in the hospital?
I guess the birds there, and then you went to the Warm Springs Institute. Yep.
Correct.
How long were you in Grady?
So I got to Grady Memorial the night of April the 10th. For my first 30 days there, I went through multiple surgeries. I was pretty much kept sedated for about the first 55 days.
Yeah.
I became aware of everything around June the 2nd. And that's when I learned what had happened, and it stuck with me. And I started moving forward as opposed to just kind of being stuck in that drug induced sedation. So June 2nd, when I became aware, and it took me 20 days to get off of my catheters, off of my feeding tubes, off of my trach, learn to hold a pen, learn to swallow and talk, and how to transition myself from a bed to a wheelchair, to a toilet, to a wheelchair. And I left Grady on June the 22nd, 20 days after I became aware. And I left for Warm Springs, which I have to recommend to anyone. It's an amazing rehab facility, absolutely stunning. And I was very, very, very lucky to get to go there. So I went to Warm Springs. I left June 22nd for Warm Springs. And I originally, when I arrived at Warm Springs, they told me I knew that I was not going to be there about a month. So I made the entire process happen in 10 days.
What? 10 days? That's
10 days.
amazing.
I made it in 10 days. So I got there on June the 22nd, and I left and came home July 2nd, just 2 days before July 4th.
Wow.
So I got there and I got the PT, and I said, what do I got to do to go home?
Yeah.
And they gave me a list of things that I had to do, and I started working as hard as I could every single day.
Yeah. That's what you gotta do. And what type of rehab are you doing now?
Right now, I'm kind of in between. I completed everything that home health physical therapy could do with me, and I continue to do those things on my own daily now.
Yeah.
But there was nothing more they could do for me. I'm at the top of where I need to be for them. My prosthetics process is just beginning. I should be getting my custom liners in next week. And after we receive those, we will be able to cast and do our first test sockets to stand in and see how they work. Once we get our first sockets in after the test sockets, we will start outpatient PT.
All right. What's been the hardest or like most difficult change you've seen of from being someone that helped the people with disabilities to actually becoming a person with one.
To be 100% honest, I think friendships, and I'm not gonna cry. I think friendships like yours and like our friend Trey
Yeah,
and several of our other friends with disabilities, I think having those friendships throughout my entire life definitely taught me that you can do whatever you want to do
yeah,
as long as you put your mind to it.
yep,
I saw you guys and so many others overcome so much more than this. And you guys had to overcome it from day one. You didn't
yep,
even get the privilege of the 37 years that I got
yeah,
of being fully capable. So I think that friendships like yours and being someone who put time in with people and made friends with people that had disabilities definitely made a giant difference in my mental capability to handle and deal with what I was being faced with. Um, I think the hardest part has just been accepting limitations
yeah.
because I did have 37 years blessed enough to be fully capable. Um,
It's all
it's
about
hard.
relearning what you've already trained yourself to do, but now you gotta relearn every
e-
everything.
Everything, so many things. I mean, it started with things as basic as being able to swallow, talk, and hold a pen,
Yeah,
but it's going to continue. I mean, I've had to, as I've gotten home, learn how to do laundry from a wheelchair, sweep the floors from a wheelchair. You wouldn't stop and think how different those things must be until you have to do them.
yeah. Can you talk about the fund fundraisers that were held for you guys and how they helped? Uh,
Definitely. Um, so our friends did a GoFundMe through Facebook, and that raised money. And that money, to be honest, now, so I'll have to be 100% honest. I was not very lucid during the times
yeah,
the fundraisers happened. So they're kind of murky to me, other than what I've been
yeah,
told.
yeah,
So I know that the first fundraiser was the GoFundMe.
yeah,
And to be honest, that one helped immensely in the way of paying bills while we were both still in the hospital.
yeah,
Just because we were both in the hospital didn't mean that we didn't owe rent or have to
yep,
keep paying the car note. Those things didn't stop. So a lot of the original fundraiser went basically toward bills while we were both still in the hospital, and then for the first week or so that Anthony was home. And then there was a second fundraiser held by a
yeah,
local biker community here in the town. And they did a great job and they raised a good amount for us. And that was able to help put in a ramp that made the house wheelchair accessible, because clearly that had not been something we had to think about before.
yep,
Um, so we had to have a ramp installed. We had to do some furniture changing out so that wheelchairs could fit through the house more easily. Um, make handicap preparations for the restrooms. Um,
uh,
Pool bars and rails for the toilet, things like that. Um, Electric wheelchairs, like it just, it provided an immense amount of help. And honestly, we could not have made it as far as we have
Yeah.
without that help. We went from a two income household to a no income household. We're
Yeah.
still, only working with one income now. My husband, being the amazing fighter that he is already back at work, doing everything he can to
Yeah.
help provide for us. And I've, of course, applied for disability, but unfortunately, right now, our system is,
It'll take a while.
it is definitely taken a while. But I have a medical exam coming up, and I'm hoping that that's the last step because I feel like once I will in there and they see me,
Yeah.
it should give it away.
Yeah. It, it will. If you need to write any recommendations, I'd be more than happy to do so.
I'm probably going to have to take you up on that because I
Okay.
think I'm going to be getting involved with both kids with amputations, and hopefully more people go through accidents similar to mine.
Okay.
More burn patients who lose their legs and things like that.
Well, talking about what's the one thing you've learned from talking to other burn patients?
Unfortunately, I really haven't had a chance to chat yet with many burn patients. I have had to get to chat with many other amputees, but most of them lost their limbs in a much less traumatic way than mine. I have got to speak to a few amputees who lost their legs in a fairly traumatic way like mine. I've got to speak to a vet who lost both of his legs due to an explosion when he was overseas, and some things like that. I've learned that prosthetics have come a really long way.
Oh yeah.
But they still can be, they're still not something that every amputee ends up being able to handle.
No.
And so I guess the biggest thing I've learned is that anything that I have control over, that it's my willpower that shows how far we're going to go, that we're going to go as far as we can in.
Yep.
But I'm going to have to listen to the limitations of my body because it did go through so much trauma. And just because, my mind and my heart want to get something done doesn't always mean my body's capable of it right then.
Yep. And you will find moments like that where one morning you'll be able to do some, but the next you won't be able to do what you've done yesterday.
I've come across that already. In fact, yes, I've discovered that exact thing. Something you can do one day, it doesn't necessarily mean you can do it the next day.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get used to not getting upset with myself about things like that.
Yep.
It's, you really have to, it's such and feeling like a burden, of course, coming home with no legs. I was a mom and wife. My job for years has been to take care of my guys. Now all of a sudden my guys have to take care of me a lot. And so it was kind of hard to accept my new role, my new position, my new level of needing help. I just recently was able to take my first shower completely unassisted. So, it's things, it's still, every day celebrating the small victories, and then not getting mad at myself and not beating myself up for
exactly,
setbacks.
exactly.
And
Oh,
that's a hard thing to learn. You guys, I tell
yes,
you, I envy you and Easy and Trey and so many of the others that we know.
yeah.
I could go on with names and forever, but I envy how much, you guys have known that lesson for a long time, a really long time, and y'all carry it so well.
Well, I speak for myself. I try. I try. I don't always succeed, but I try.
And as long as we always try, I think that's the only thing that's really mattering at the end of the day to me.
How has your son handled all this? Could you speak a little bit on
Yeah,
that?
certainly. He has done extremely well.
Yes.
To be 9 years old and all of a sudden both of your parents are gone. Your mom, who you've never been away from for longer than 4 days,
Yep.
probably, is gone for 2 months. You can't talk to her. I couldn't speak to him because I had the trach in. I couldn't speak to him. Um, and he couldn't come see me because of COVID restrictions and the burn unit restrictions. And I was in such bad shape that it really wasn't a good time to anyway. Um, it was very difficult for him, but he has really been a champ. Like
Yep.
I can't say enough about how he's been such a champ. He's patient with the things that take me longer. He's helpful with the things I cannot do. He's 10 so now, so he does get frustrated or aggravated or a little something, but you just got to remind him that
Yeah.
this is our situation and that it's nobody's fault, but that we all have to work together to fix it and do what we can.
Well, well, he's just like you, so I knew he would adjust pretty well.
I'm I'm happy he gets the opportunity to start being involved with disabilities at such a young age. I'm happy to know that, when he gets to middle school, he'll probably follow in my footsteps and do those kind of things and activities um, with
Yeah.
the children from his school and make friends that way. I'm hoping. I really hope so. That would
Me
that
too.
would be like a super mom win.
Yeah. It'd be a super Uncle Win too.
Super Uncle win too for sure.
Yeah.
I think he definitely will end up being pretty amazing with all of it. He's been pretty amazing so far.
So, what charities or organizations would you want to work with since you now have the knowledge you have?
Um, I know that I'll be getting involved with Bolin Prosthetics extracurricular activities they do with a number of different um, companies in the area, the Cantrell Center and some other things. I think what I'm really looking forward to is to getting involved with kids with prosthetic legs. I haven't got to start anything of that nature yet. I'm just getting healed enough that I can get around good and go visit people and things like that. Um, Also, I wanted to take a good grace period of time to myself because this is a lot to deal with. And there are people out
Exactly.
there who don't deal with it the way I have and need a lot
Exactly.
more help. And I
Yeah.
want to be there for those people. But I also want to make sure that I've got myself totally right first.
You're doing it right because you want to be centered and know yourself before you try to help some somebody else.
Yeah, you have to push yourself long before you go to push somebody else.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I've been working on is pushing myself. I've been pushing myself quite a lot. I do want to say that just for anyone out there who's gone through something like this, if you're struggling with it, please definitely talk to your doctor about anxiety and depression medications instead of trying to fight it by yourself. It's a big thing. No one expects you to fight it by yourself. I'm really strong and was fortunate enough to have friends like you to prepare me for this. And I still couldn't handle it without that help. And there are so many people out there that are afraid or ashamed to need that kind of help. And I definitely want to take this opportunity to stress that that's not the kind of help you need to be ashamed of.
No.
The
We-
kind of help there's no kind of help to be ashamed of. As long as you know your limitations and you know when to ask for help, that's the key thing.
Yes. I couldn't say it any better myself. We always talk about the last topic on the show. If you need help, reach out to somebody, regardless of what the help is. When you're out in public, I know you try to educate kids. Could you
I
speak up on how you tried to do that?
I certainly can. Well, clearly I have blue hair and no legs, so I kind of draw attention.
Yeah.
Not easy to miss by when I'm in a crowd, but children especially, obviously, as they do with most disabled people, stare. So I invite them to come ask questions. I tell them that it's fine.
Yeah.
I talk to them about what's happened. I get to tell them about how I did have legs. And now that I don't have legs, I get to tell them how my life got saved. And I get to tell them about how I get to get new legs and how I get to work hard to
Yeah.
learn to use them, and how kids love to hear that I'm getting robot legs. That's
Yeah.
always a selling point with children.
Oh, yeah.
Robot legs.
Gee,
So I just make it a point that if I see a kid staring, I try to smile and invite them to come ask questions, because there's no one more innocent than a kid trying to figure something out. They're not and children and poor parents, you should see their faces. Their face just drops.
Oh,
As soon as the child starts talking, their face just drops because they're so afraid their kid's going to say something
yes.
horrible or insensitive.
Yes.
But it's coming from a kid.
Yeah.
We're all adult enough to know that they're not trying to be horrible or
Yeah.
insensitive. They're trying to understand. So fix your face, parents, smile, let them come and learn a little something. Don't be afraid. We're not gonna, my intent's not to scare them. Yes, I let them know I got in a motorcycle accident. No, I'm not afraid of motorcycles now. It's not the motorcycle's fault.
Yeah.
It was an accident, and accidents happen. And sometimes they happen when you least expect them and to the best people. And the only thing you can do is smile and work hard.
Yep. Do you find that kids are easier to talk to than adults, or are they?
Kids are more honest. Kids are more honest. They really tell you what's on their mind. They really tell you their questions. My 3-year-old godson recently asked me, did it hurt when the doctors cut my legs off, and how much blood came out? Kids are more honest. So I find honesty easier to entertain than the sugarcoating, beating around the bush. Adults who are just willing to ask the questions they want to know, that's great. But the ones who are all, I shouldn't ask, no, that's, I get that you're trying to not offend me, and that's very nice, but it's more offensive for you to wonder and not know.
If you're gonna ask. Don't beat around the bush and pretend like you don't want to know when you actually do.
Exactly. Yes. I like the straightforward question. Like my youngest goddaughter, she's like, how do you get on the toilet, Shasha? So I let her watch.
Yeah.
I showed her how I do the transition. Of course, she's a kid. She's gonna wonder,
Yeah.
you know? And adults must wonder too, because I've had legs my entire life and now I don't. How do I do this? So ask. It's cool. I don't mind. What I mind is when you talk about it behind my back
Yes.
or give me the look, and then I know you want to say something, but you won't. You turn
Yeah.
away. Or when you sit across the room and stare at me consistently with the 9 million questions on the tip of your tongue, but none of them coming out.
I get that all the time.
Yep,
I have gotten that all the time.
Yep. I'd rather educate you than you walk away from the situation uneducated and stare at the next person that way.
Yep. And that educates them for the next person they encounter. I mean, that educates them for the next person with a disability that they come in contact with.
Yeah, then they, can ask some questions and they can ask them in a way that's, not
Yeah.
offensive, but honest. And I think really more people should be worried about being honest when they ask a disabled person question rather than being offensive.
Because we all want to educate one another. Because if you don't know, just ask us, and the majority of us will gladly answer any questions as long as they're not stupid, idiotic questions.
Yeah. Now there can be some questions, of course, that are just inappropriate.
Yeah.
But thankfully, most people, at least most I've come in contact with so far, haven't been that way.
Well,
but the very best have been kids out in public. Of course, I have blue hair and no legs. Like I
Yeah.
draw attention.
Yeah. Well, you've always had different color hair ever since I've known you.
Pretty much my entire adult life, I've been pink and purple and blue and green and orange and red, and I have a list of colors, an endless list of colors. But I like it. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
And if little things like having your hair blue make you happy, then I am all for you having your hair blue.
Yep.
It's a tough world. Like we face a lot, and especially people with disabilities, they're facing even more. And whatever small things it is that you can find that make you happy, whatever it is you can talk to your doctor about that'll help.
Yeah.
Like we deserve happiness too. It's not something to be ashamed of. And I'm so lucky to have the support system and the love that I have. I was overwhelmed with the love and the support that came out for us. It was just the most incredible thing. The most incredible thing.
You didn't know how much support you had till this happened.
I didn't know how much support I had until when?
Until all this happened.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know how much support there was. For the longest time, I was not aware of the support that was going on, for sure. Yeah. And there was just so much of it. I mean, my husband and child were able to be home and get the house completely wheelchair accessible ready and be able to get the ramp ready and
Yep.
be able to get things ready for when I came home to make adjusting as easy as possible. And that was, I mean, it was ginormous. I can't imagine what it would have been like without it.
Uh, who did all the modifications? Was it an agency in in town, or did you have like help people you knew, or
It
was it
was
agency?
friends contributed most of the labor to do the things that needed to be done.
Okay.
My dad, family definitely, you know, put in a lot of time
Yeah.
coming and rearranging things and getting out furniture. Obviously, Anthony wasn't in any position to be lifting couches. So,
No.
yes, it was overwhelming, and it was mostly friends and family, and we were very, I mean, just beyond lucky to have that kind of support for
Yeah.
sure.
It's a life changer, but you guys are doing pretty good considering where you've been like 10 months ago.
Most definitely, most definitely. I when I arrived at Grady, I was a pretty bad mess, and to be here in my home where I just got done doing dishes is pretty phenomenal, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I'm just gonna keep working the hardest I can. Um, you have you have to decide how you're going to react to the trauma that life threw at you. Now, I can't control the accident. I can't control the fire. I can't control the damage that was done by the fire.
Nope.
What I can control is what I do from this point forward. And you just have to choose. You have to make the conscious choice. And sometimes it's 1,000 times a day that I
Yeah.
have to make the choice.
Yep.
100,000 times a day sometimes. You have to make the choice to choose to fight with a smile. And I have little ones watching me. I have my son, I have 2 stepchildren, and they're watching me. And I need them to see that when life throws challenges at you, that if you face it with a giggle and a smile and a whole bunch of hard work, you're going to get through it.
Yep.
And so that's, that's key, and I think that goes for everybody. You just have to face it with a giggle and a smile and a lot of hard work. You have to choose, you have to make the choice every day and fight with a smile.
I think that's the perfect segue to end on. What do you have coming up as far as what or what are you? What's your daily routine, or does it change every day?
Well, sometimes it changes every day. Some mornings I wake up and the parts aren't moving.
Yeah.
But we get the oil can out and we do a 10-man and we loosen them up. But
Yep.
for the most part, my daily routine now is pretty. It sounds simple, but of course for me, it's not as simple as it sounds. But it's cleaning house and
Yeah.
working out. I'm getting ready for prosthetics. Like I said, they're coming up very soon, and I'm doing my best to get my core and my upper body as strong as I can, to try to build up the muscles in my thighs because they received a lot of damage from the fire, and get ready to support the weight and pressure of the prosthetics. So I'm just doing everything I can to get ready for that. I'm trying every day to just get ready for what's hopefully my next step, pun
Uh,
intended.
I was surprised when I saw the Facebook picture that you posted, and we will have that on our website for the people to see that you
And
posted.
yes, you're
a
the
couple-
parallel bars.
Yeah, I
I'm
wish
pretty proud of myself.
I was too.
It was very difficult, but it was very worth it. Very worth it. All the difficult things are.
Yep. Every difficult thing is worth doing.
I agree completely. I couldn't have said it better.
Yep.
And I love you so much. And I want to thank you for having me on here. And I'm so proud of you. And don't burn the day. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I've always thought you were fantastic, but I think this is extra fantastic. And I just wanted to tell you I loved you so much and
Love
thank
you
you from
too.
the bottom of my heart.
I'll talk to you later. Bye, sis.
All right, you keep up with me, okay?
I will. And guys, that's a wrap for this episode of Don't Burn the Day. Please check our Facebook page at facebook.com/DBTD pod for more information and episodes. The website is dbtdmedia.com, and thanks to our sponsors for the shoes, Film, PattyRicky.com. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, hon.
Bye.